After 2 years of breathlessly hyping what turned out to be the Mueller investigation, no collusion, nothing burger, is it time for a media culpa? Hey everybody, I'm Steve Grimm with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle on the press and the Democrats doubling down on stupid. It's not going to be any media culpa. After the big nothing burger, gents, there was a great story today. I've been collecting these things for about 72 hours now. But the Daily Caller wrapped all of these things up into one big story. And I love this. Scott, I'm going to direct these at both of you guys, but I want you to pay special attention. This first question is going to you. Here's just a selection of this huge list from that Daily Caller story of media mess-ups over the last 2 years involving the Mueller investigation. CNN accuses Don Jr. of WikiLeaks collusion. Had no basis in fact. ABC tanks the stock market with fake news about General Flynn. Bloomberg's dirty Deutsche Bank scoop turned out to be another nothing burger. Jeff Sessions did not botch protocol, as CNN reported. The Washington Post, I love this one. The Washington Post claimed in January 2017 that Russians were hacking the U.S. power grid through a company in Vermont, only to change the story to say that only one laptop was infiltrated. It turns out that one laptop was never even connected to the power grid. This is CNN, right? We're not done. I'm still going. Republicans funded the dossier. Well, no, actually, it was Democrats. CNN gets Comey prediction wildly wrong. Actually, I think that was several stories throughout the last couple of years. And I saved this one for last, although there were quite a few more. NBC botched its big scoop claiming that Paul Manafort's notes from a meeting with a Russian lawyer included the word donations near a reference to the Republican National Committee. Turns out not only did the word donations not appear in Manafort's notes, but the word donor didn't appear either. And Scott, you know what a lot of these stories had in common? A single anonymous source provided the so-called news. Now, you are a professionally trained journalist. What do you say about that?
I'd ask you to restate that sentence because I lost all the audio after.
Audio cut out.
Oh, no.
You know what a lot of these stories have in common.
Hang on.
I lost you again.
There we go. Yeah, my thing dropped out there. Okay, NBC botched its big scoop claiming Paul Manafort's notes from a meeting with Russian lawyer included the word donations near a reference to the Republican National Committee. But it turns out not only did the word donations not appear in Manafort's notes, but the word donor didn't appear either. And Scott, what these stories, almost all of them, had in common was they relied on a single anonymous source. And as a professionally trained journalist, what do you say to that?
Maybe they also relied on the same translator who wrote the label on the button for Hillary Clinton that she presented to her Russian counterpart. Yes, the reset button that said overcharged.
Countries in the very best of hands.
That's right. I thought it was the word donor. It turns out it was just the word bread or something. Like, they have no idea. I think that I've been ashamed of my chosen profession for years. I really had sort of an idealistic view of things. And this was back when if you had been able to tack down my politics, I was pretty left-wing, okay, in college, although I wouldn't have described myself that way because I just thought I was a right-thinking person. I was correct. And so I saw the world accurately where others did not. Journalism is really the kind of the most disappointing aspect of our society because it holds such promise, because there was so much stock put in it by the framers and founders of our country. They knew the nature of man and they knew the proclivity of people to make stuff up and to lie and to get things wrong. But still, the idea that they allowed this, when they could have run a government that cracked down on people who disagreed, and certainly John Adams tried to do that with the Alien and Sedition Acts, but instead they allow this incredible freedom, and with freedom comes great responsibility, and you've got this opportunity to really do the job well, to be able to in your rocking chair, in your dotage, to be able to sit back and say, I told the truth as best I could determine it. I made sure that I wasn't relying on people who could manipulate me by doing these single source anonymous stories. I mean, every journalist who has a source who wants to remain anonymous should immediately be suspicious and should immediately just force themselves to say, no, we're not going to press with this. I don't care how juicy it is. It's such a crushing disappointment to me, to the whole business, that they could go through 2 years of this and still now defend themselves as if they had done excellent coverage of this. Well, if you'd seen nothing but the news coverage of the last 2 years about the Trump-Russia investigation, and then I asked you to take $25 and put it on the outcome that you expected from the Mueller report, you would have lost your $25.
Every single time. Bill, the doubling down on stupid's been going on for 72 hours now. Margaret Sullivan in the Washington Post had a piece saying, well, just because they didn't find anything doesn't mean it isn't true, or words to that effect. CNN had a big story today. Democrats not yet ready to conclude there's no Russia conspiracy, despite 2 years of investigation and $25 million. Maxine Waters lost it. I don't know if you've seen this classic video clip on the news on Sunday, but she's just doubling down on the crazy in her case. The Bulwark, Bill Kristol's new publication? That one?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it? Yeah, well, I have to because of the whole Instaputnik gig. But they did a piece. They published a piece from Charlie Sykes saying no collusion, but no exoneration. So there's no evidence, but the guy's guilty of something because Orange Man bad. Politico. This is the one that actually made me angry. A couple of Politico reporters put out a story headline: Trump begins post-Mueller reset. And resets in quotes, as if this is something somebody in the White House actually claimed happened. Post-Mueller reset by attacking Democrats and the media. So he's so evil, he's going after the people who spent 2 years falsely accusing him of treason. The temerity of this man. And by the way, the reset exists only in their imagination. They want to just give a do-over, right? And Breitbart had a piece. This one was really helpful. 50 Hollywood stars who accused Trump of treason, collusion with Russia, and I think the only reason they stopped at 50, Bill, was because of space limitations. Why do people still watch this horrible infotainment industry that we suffer under?
You're being way too flip about this, Steve. This is the greatest piece of investigative reporting since Geraldo Rivera opened Al Capone's vault. And the treasure trove of minutia and details into that master criminal's life illuminated our entire history, changed the way completely we thought about Al Capone.
Bill, for those of us who are less than 40 years old, what was in Al Capone's vault after Geraldo Rivera
Dust.
opened it?
They found Al Capone's vault, and they said it's a vault, and it's owned by Al Capone. And Geraldo Rivera, a paragon of integrity, decided that he was going to open the vault live, and there was quite a lot of anticipation.
Oh, it didn't take like an hour to drill through that massive door?
No.
It's all live.
It probably took 3 minutes to drill through the massive door, but it took an hour to talk about drilling through the massive door, and they open up the vault, and there's literally nothing inside. Okay. They're not doubling down on stupid, Steve. They're dodecahedroning down on stupid, and to say that they don't have any credibility is just absurd. It's absurdly obvious is what I'm saying at this point. The question now is what happens from here, and as I've been saying for several weeks now on Bill Whittle Now, I think Donald Trump needs to take this Mueller report and pin it to his breast pocket and not go anywhere without it there. And all of the things, here's what's interesting. All of the things that the left accused Donald Trump of, all of the things that the left believed Donald Trump did, turns out didn't happen. And all of the things that I thought were too complex to be believed, deep government, the idea of planting a story that everybody knew was false, all of the things that I thought to believe, turns out I was wrong too. All of the things that they thought about Trump were not true. And all of the things that I used to think about having shred of integrity left in the media, that our intelligence services were manned by competent, honest people, regardless of politics, all of those fantasies of mine disappeared as well. So both sides are heartbroken here. but as you pointed out, and as I'm pointing out in on my firewall this week, the Mueller report, the Mueller report, was never, ever about anything other than undermining Donald Trump's legitimacy, undermining the election, and throwing light off of Hillary Clinton. I suspect that the whole thing may have just been kicked off when, 2 or 3 days after the election, when she finally sobered up enough to appear on stage and said, "Oh, the reason I lost is because of fake news and the Russians had something." Yeah, that's it, the Russians. Let's go with that. And you know what's the worst thing about this, actually?
What's that?
Is that, relationship with Russia, which I know a fair bit about just in terms of interpersonal relationships, because I'm married to a Russian woman. The relationship with Russia has deteriorated to levels that we haven't seen since before the Cold War, or during the Cold War. Now, that's not to say that Vladimir Putin hasn't gotten every single thing he deserves. It's every bit of all of this breakdown is due to his recklessness in the Ukraine and in Georgia and all the rest. That'd be Georgia in Europe for you Democrats out there, the one that's just south of Russia. And so what I'm saying is, because of this this ridiculous accusation, any attempt that Donald Trump either might have wanted to make or could have made to improve relations with the Russians, I think they had to put the kibosh on it, because people are just going to say, "See, told you, he's just a pawn of Putin, and all he's doing is doing this to help the Russians," and so on and so forth, and that affects real lives, including my wife's and mine. You know, visas getting denied and things like this, perfectly legal immigration into the United States being stopped because of this ongoing lie. And the only thing that I'm left with is this sense that yet again, the perpetrators of this big slander are going to get away scot-free, just the way that Christine Blasey Ford got away scot-free, and all of these people. We did a show on Jesse. He's going to get away scot-free. All of these people commit these horrible lies and slanders. They destroy the American people's faith in their government, which is the entire glue that holds this society together. And when it's proven that they did this in order to gain personal power, the result is nothing. Nothing happens to them. Nothing.
It's just the complete lack of accountability is just enough to make you cry sometimes. And Bill, you mentioned the 2008 Georgia war, but let's face it, the left quit caring about Georgia once they found out they're Caucasians. I like to put a little geographical humor into every episode.
They're not only Caucasians. Steve. They are, in fact, the most Caucasian people on earth, because if you open your window in Georgia, you will see the Caucasus Mountains, and that is about as Caucasian as you get.
It's right there. All right, folks, Trump White House did something kind of brilliant either yesterday or this morning. We're recording this on Tuesday. They sent out a letter to the major news outlets with a list of the most egregious individuals who were promoting this collusion nothing burger, along with some of the statements they made and all the rest, and asking these news organizations if they really want to continue having these completely discredited people on their chat shows, and if they do choose to continue having these discredited people on their chat shows, maybe they should be confronted with questions about all of these stupid, wrong hype and lies and disinformation that they've been spreading over the years. Now, I paraphrase quite a bit and use some of my own harsher language, but the Trump White House letter was actually very gentle, I think, especially considering how bombastic Donald Trump can be sometimes, or all the time. But I thought it was a really smart move, and it's something you might want to share with your friends. Not the letter itself, but to your more moderate friends who still watch and trust some of what they see on the news, especially when these people on the news come with such authoritative titles as former CIA director, or former FBI director, or former White House drunk wannabe, that maybe they should take these people with a big old grain of salt. So something to think about as we go forward. Me, on the entertainment side, I've done everything I can to limit the amount of money of mine that goes to Hollywood, and if you can cut the cord, if you can rent the DVD instead of buying it, all of these things that you can do to keep money from going to Hollywood, do that, because these folks have an awful lot of money and an awful lot of influence, and they need to be taken down several pegs on both, I think. And it's within our power as voters and consumers of news and entertainment to do just that. So be proactive.
Send us the money. Send us a movie ticket a month.
Yeah, you want more of this? Yeah, we need the money. So if you can do that, I think it might actually make a difference, because the problem with the American elite is that they aren't. And that's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, please become a member. We'd love to have you on board as one of our producers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.